The entire time Trevor was detained, his family was fighting for his release, appealing to anyone who would listen. But the Reeds were frankly frustrated with some people they say had the power to help Trevor, but did not.
To a certain extent, there was a certain apathy that Trevor described in the Russian government with some of our elected officials, because if it's not about them getting a vote, they're too busy to deal with it. And this is an American issue, not Trevor, but all the other Americans that are in a situation. You know, we used to go to war over these things, and now it's lucky if we get news time about it. And they need to start bringing all of our Americans home that are taken like Trevor was.
We had bipartisan resolutions in Congress and Senate, and still handfuls of people would not sign them. And they all got very strongly worded emails from me, but it's outrageous to think that it's anybody that we elected or put in these positions.
There's the family of Trevor Reed, the Marine that spent nearly 1,000 days in a Russian prison. He's back, but there's more to this story, because Trevor Reed and his family are very upset, as you heard a little bit, about the lack of response, or at least the blocking of any kind of progress for helping him get back here. And they had a specific person that they did call out. Let's watch more.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is not our representative. The day before Trevor's appeal hearing, where they were going to give the decision, she called for every resolution and every bill in the House that day to have a roll call vote, so they would just put them off. And they didn't have to do that on Trevor's. This was a call for Putin to release an American Marine, but she called for a roll call vote. It got put off to the next day, where they rolled them all into one roll call vote, and her cronies and that small group of idiots voted against it. So you voted for Putin?
This is maybe some of the fallout that I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene was expecting, or maybe she doesn't care. It's one of the two. But now this is the family of a Marine who spent time over there, and then she collectively, with her group of idiots, as he also pointed out there, decided to block it, the resolution, to help this get somewhere, because she needed to just block everything. She needed to delay things. It was unrelated. We're gonna get that in a second. But Trevor Reed did say he has campaign plans in response to the way she and her cronies did their dirty work. Let's watch more.
How do you justify that? That's embarrassing to me that anyone who represents the United States would vote against something, like that. I'm sure that the Russians loved that. I'm sure that, they're all big fans of all of those congressmen who did that. That's completely unacceptable to me. It's embarrassing. And I better not ever see that happen again to any other Americans, because I promise that I will be at every single campaign that person runs for the rest of their life to tell everyone that they did that.
A little bit of the fallout from this. So so by the way, as I pointed out, it wasn't even specifically about this particular thing, or even about Trevor Reed himself. He got caught up in her political games, because in March of 2021, in protest of President Joe Biden's COVID-19 stimulus package, Greene and some members of the House Freedom Caucus asked for a roll call vote on a series of suspension bills. The move delayed a number of votes, including Reed's case. You guys want to know some of those other bills that she delayed? I don't think it was a mistake. It was HR 1, a voting reform bill. It was also the George Floyd and Policing Act, and also the Equality Act to prohibit gender discrimination. All those things were blocked by Marjorie Taylor Greene and her people. And hopefully Trevor Reed and his family and others like him who support him are gonna also make sure they call her and her cronies out anywhere they go, yes.
Yeah, I think I actually covered this story for Rebel HQ maybe last week or the week before. And it was his dad was calling out Ted Cruz for not helping, for not doing anything. And he said that he'll do everything he can in his power to not get Ted Cruz elected for his next election. Yeah. And I think what is so staggering about this story in particular is, first of all, the GOP always says that they are the family for the military and they believe in these military families, when they don't actually do a whole lot to support military families, at least not publicly. And we saw that a lot during the Trump administration, how he would actually disparage certain military families and things like that. And then all the stuff with the VA, like they really can be doing more there. But then when you have this, right, and it's a good thing that Trevor and his family are calling all this stuff out, all this bureaucracy and all the things that we do here in the government within our hallowed halls, they affect real people. And these are people, this is a prisoner of war, this is a military man, and this is somebody who we consider to be, the best of the best that America has to offer. And we didn't do anything to help him. So what are we gonna do for the rest of our people? And it's just all the hypocrisy, and it's good that it's being called out, because they cannot continue to call themselves this family that supports the military when they're actually not. They keep putting politics in front of everything, and it's really exhausting.
I just wondered, again, I feel like this is something everyone kind of sees, but it's been continuing on. I remember back in 2003 when we were about to go into Iraq, and we're like, hey, this Republican Party that's talking about how much support the troops, they actually don't. We've seen some from their rhetoric and actually their policies, but that just doesn't stick. I'm not sure, because of the gun culture and the thought that they're supposed to be the only ones behind any kind of like aggression, and I don't know, but that's the thought that's always been.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of cognitive dissonance, or whatever you want to call it, around these things, because there's so many things that are so obvious, right? So much obvious hypocrisy that so many people can see, but it's like nobody's just saying it out loud for whatever reason, and they really should. And I think it's this whole culture that's been built up over the decades, especially in the last couple of decades, specifically since George W. Bush, or maybe that's just when I noticed it, because that was when I was, becoming a real person and not a child anymore, and paying attention to these things. But there was so much rhetoric, and even as a child, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And they're saying this, but they're meaning this, So I have to believe that more people see through it than the media would imply.
We just need to act on it.